Hi there, I'm Jeff with Noble Bison Productions. I'm the director, producer, and part owner. Noble Bison Productions is a commercial video production company located in Denver, Colorado. Today I'm going to go through kind of a behind the scenes breakdown of our ad for Global X ETFs. So without further ado, let's watch the ad real fast.
We live in a period marked by disruption. Disruption in the way we move from place to place, and in the energy systems powering new possibilities. Disruption in how we work, and in how we play. Disruption in how we make things, and in how we innovate in the face of new challenges. To navigate disruption, it helps to have a good map. Since 2008, Global X ETFs has been focused on empowering investors with unexplored and intelligent solutions. We hope you'll join us for the next chapter. Learn more at chartingdisruption.com.
So there you have it. That was our ad for Global X ETFs. So we'll get into it, but first some shout outs and some credits to all of the amazing people that we worked with on this. Firstly, it would not have been possible without the agency. So we worked with Heavy. They're an agency out of New York. Our contact was Drew. Drew, if you're watching this, man, thanks so much for reaching out to us and having trusting us to make this ad for you. This actually was our very first spot that we did as a company. We were only about a year old, and the bid request came in, and thankfully we won. We definitely I don't know that we made a whole lot of money. We put a lot of our eggs into this basket, and we really wanted to prove to ourselves and the community that we are serious, and that we can do awesome work, and I feel like we did that, and that's all thanks to our crew. So let's quickly talk about that. I had, of course, I directed it, and then Tim, the other owner of Noble Bison, he was there as kind of a set manager. We had first AD was Callahan. Hey, Callahan, it's been a while. She was great and definitely helped us out a lot, because I don't want to say we were in over our heads, but it definitely felt good to have someone who had been around the block and be there with us. You know, there were a few times where I'd kind of look over at her and be like, we're doing good, right? And she, always seemed confident in us. So, set design, we had Quinn and John. You guys killed it. Man, I miss you guys. Quinn and John both are in Atlanta now. But I met Quinn as a production assistant on a brand story video that we did for North Park Transportation, and I just immediately knew that she was awesome. And I said, well, what do you want to do on set outside of being a production assistant? And she told me that she was interested in set design. So I was like, you got it. Like, I know you're going to kill it. And so we brought her on to Global X, and then she brought John in as well. DP, Troy. What's up, dude? Troy has been with us for a really long time. He's DP'd a lot of our work. Troy's awesome. He's got a great eye, and he knows his stuff. He knows set, just all the things. Like there's just so much information and so much technical prowess in that man. So thanks, Troy, for being there with us and all, and trusting me and making these images great. Because honestly, this ad really leaned heavily on the imagery. There's not really there's no dialogue in this spot, so it's truly just images, and Troy rose to the occasion to make those images really awesome, knowing that he was the main storytelling device. First AC, Orion Madsen, my guy. Gaffer, we've got Tyler Kashke, TK. We've got JP on key grip. JP's also been with us on a lot of shoots, and man, that dude is awesome. We've got Cheshire, who I wish I saw more of. So Cheshire, if you're watching this, text me. Let's hang. Eric Fulcher, another guy that he's been on quite a few of our shoots, and we see him every now and again. And Eric's great. Mary Jeans, we do not see enough of her. And yeah, that was we had a 3-3 on our G&E department, and that was what a way to start out here in Denver. I think the typical size of G&E is usually like 2-2. I think 3-3 seems to be more and more common, as I've noticed. It seems like budgets are getting healthier lately, but if there's any producers or other production teams out there, set me straight if I'm wrong. For us, 3-3 is like we're feeling pretty good. I mean, I will admit sometimes I wish we even had 3-3 and then like a swing on top of that. But anyway, that was cool to start off with, like a pretty robust G&E team. And if you know production, you know that like pretty much G&E is the backbone of everything. So on the voiceover talent, we've got this guy named Charlie. Charlie, you like and comment on our stuff all the time, so I'm sure you're watching this. You killed it, man. Yeah, thanks so much for all your work. Talent came from Cathexis, local talent agency. Linda and her team are just great, and they gave us some excellent talent to work with. Hair and makeup, we had Jess. Jess is our girl. She actually does a lot of our set design and art design, and yeah, as I do more of these videos, you'll hear more about Jess. But at the beginning, she started out as our main hair and makeup, and every now and again she still does that, but primarily we put her in our department. So okay, so let's start with it. So, you know, just first up, we've got this first shot. You've got this lady gardening. So actually, I'm sorry. Let me just say that you'll see even in the boards. So I'll put the boards up, and you'll see that the main concept of this ad was, you know, this brand is called Global X, and they wanted to put this X in all of the imagery. So like I said earlier, this spot was really image driven, more so than dialogue driven, or I don't know if it's wrong to say not story driven. I think it's definitely story driven, but actually, you know what? I don't think it. I think this is a montage, and really the connective tissue are these X's. So you see these X's everywhere, and you'll see them in the boards. And so that was one of probably our biggest challenge, was how are we going to get X's in all of these shots and make it normal, or like make it feel natural and right. So, you know, we started off easy on this first shot. She literally has an X in the ground, which, to all my gardeners out there, I know that's not how you garden. I know that I don't think anyone is gardening with an X in the ground, but it was. I think it's important to this story that it like really sets, like, it really brings the X, you know, as a character or as a storytelling device. It really puts it right there, front and center. There it is. And originally the storyboard, it had a shot of the drone, which you do see. It comes up next. There's a drone that flies past her. So the original shot in the storyboard was of the drone. So it was like a drone above the drone, and then the X in the farm, or the big garden or whatever. And we're like, well, that's pretty difficult to fly two drones. Obviously it's possible, but our workaround for that was, why don't we start on the ground with the gardener doing the X, and then we'll get a wider, we'll show the drone behind her fly by, and then we switch to actually is another drone. There's a second drone there. I don't even remember us having two drones, but you can see a drone shot and a drone in the distance. But I still, it's not quite what the boards were. It wasn't bird's eye of drone over top of drone. So you do see the drone in there and a beautiful Colorado background, and you've got a subtle X. The owners of this farm were great. They let us move anything around. We put that tractor in there. Hopefully, my hope was that this tractor would lead your eyes to see that cross section, because you of course have that diagonal cross cut of the path or trail, and then there's like kind of a faint. There's that faint cross there, and so we kind of put that tractor there to hopefully bring that out a bit more. So I don't know if we totally succeeded with that, but I think again, seeing the X at the beginning, I think really helps. Some funny, well, not funny, but the story behind this particular time of the day and setup is that we of course had the agency with us, but we also had other folks tuned in through, like, we had a Zoom feed going so they could see the camera, they could see the shots, they could see what we were doing. And when we came to this farm, there's no Wi-Fi. There wasn't even a phone. There was no phone signal. The closest phone signal was like on the road. So we still had to get approvals, and we still needed to make sure that all the powers that be were happy with what we were doing. So we had Drew from the agency literally taking photos of the camera and then running down this like long driveway to this farm and running this whole driveway out to the street to send the photo, and then stand there and wait for a response, and then come back and say, yeah, we're good to go, they like it. Oh man, it was ridiculous. And thankfully I haven't experienced anything quite like that since this setup. But man, that was what I think of when I look back on this particular setup for this spot. It's just Drew running back and forth, and man, that's production in a nutshell. You think it's going to be, easy in some way or another, and there's some crazy monkey wrench that's just thrown into it that, like, there's no way we could have predicted that in pre-pro. So I think actually we ended up, I don't know if it was for this spot or maybe it was something we did after this that prompted us to actually buy our own Wi-Fi, like a hotspot or whatever. So yeah, it was definitely a thing. So moving into the next shot here, we've got the Tesla. So we've got this guy charging his Tesla, and actually a funny little Easter egg, that hand is Tim, the other owner of Noble Bison. So that's his hand in that fancy sports coat, and this car actually belongs to one of our other clients that we worked for. His name's Munnin. Munnin, if you're watching, shout out to you, man. Thanks so much for letting us use your car. He was the only person we knew that owned a Tesla, and we knew we could get it from him, and I'm pretty sure he just gave it to us for the day. Tim went and grabbed it the day before and drove it to set. He was calling me like, dude, this thing's awesome. So yeah. And then of course you see the X, when the charging cable crosses. So, that was our way to try to keep putting this X imagery in here in this spot. And, yeah, I think that one plays pretty well. I feel like I'm always like down on myself for like, I don't know. I'm like, maybe it's not, but I think that one plays. I think you can really see that X pretty well. All right. And then the next shot, you've got these solar panels. So this is a drone shot, that actually I did this drone shot while Troy was setting up, and the storyboard was beautiful, and it showed these solar panels, and it looks like very obviously an X. And when we were location scouting, which we location scouted this whole thing ourselves, we didn't use the locations manager. We had to do everything very cost effectively. And so Tim was literally out for a few days in this area of town, just like looking for farms and looking for solar panels. And so we found this little tiny, I don't even know what this thing is, like cottage, I guess. I don't even know how Tim found it, but they were gracious enough to let us use their little cottage barn house thing. And so that's supposed to be an X. We start the cut, with it pretty tight, but again, this was the biggest challenge, was like, how do we get these X's to be really prominent? And maybe if I were to go back in time and redo this ad, I might have added an element of some animation or motion graphics where we do some like highlighting these X's, like I forget what their brand color is. What is it? Like, oh, they've got this like orange. Okay. So they've got this like orange color for their branding. So like that would be, if I were to do this again today, that's what I would do, is I would run an orange line through all of the X points. So like really highlight that, like, hey, look, there's an X. Hey, look, there's another X. Hey, look, here's another X. You see what we're doing? There's another X, but alas, that's not what we did. We kept it very natural. And so maybe natural's better. I don't know. You can let me know if you have a strong opinion on that. The next shot. So now we're getting into some more technical, I guess not technical, but more fun stuff that we did. So we've got this shot of this guy working from home. So the X on this one is actually really subtle. It's in the background on the bookshelf. And actually, I remember when we were trying to figure this out with the agency and like in pre-pro, and I remember like, I don't know if I fought hard for this or if I wasn't sure if they'd really go for it, but I really wanted to be like, it's okay. Not every shot needs to be right in your face. Let's put it in the background. Like, there's no other way to really do this in a natural way. And thankfully they went for it. There's even like a little X, like, I think that's like a wine bottle holder, like in that bookshelf. So, but yeah, those X's are in the bookshelf. So it's still there. But in order to do this shot, we had an M40 outside of that window, which was fun. I know Jeannie was really stoked about using the big lamps on this, and we had the Fisher dolly in here. I believe it was, I think we had the 10. I don't think we had the 11, even though we probably should have had the 11. Which, if you don't know, Fisher is a really nice type of dolly, and what's really funky about Fisher is that they the bigger the number, the smaller the dolly. So the 10 is actually bigger than the 11. The 11 is meant to be for spaces like this, whereas the 10 is meant to be more of a studio dolly where you have all the space and all the room. But I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, and this happens to us all the time, the 11 was booked. So we were stuck with the 10. So Jeannie had to lug this massive dolly into this person's house. And we even, I think we like nicked the side of their wall, and JP had to go. I mean, dude, thanks, JP. I know I'll never like I can't watch this shot without thinking of JP. Like, he accidentally nicked the wall, and there was he had to do a little repair job, and he like went. I think we sent a PA, and they went and got a patch kit, and JP was like on his hands and knees, like patching up this wall while we were tearing down at the end of this day. So, but it's all good. The homeowner was fine. She didn't care. We fixed it. It's all good. But yeah, lesson learned. Use the Fisher 11. So yeah, so we're on the 10. It's a pretty slick little move with some straight track into a curve to get that nice wraparound. I think I really like this shot because it starts off like really closed off. You've got Monty here with his shoulder is really like the center of the shot, and but then the camera really moves into it. We make a cut into the tight, but the whole move, follows suit for both the wide lens and the tight lens. And man, I just think this was a beautiful shot, and huge props to the whole Genie team, Tyler specifically on the gaffer, and of course, like I was saying earlier, Troy and just his brilliance as a DP. So you guys killed it. Yeah, I love this shot. I think this has made it in a lot of our reels and a lot of our promotional stuff, but it's a great shot. And then of course it ends with the bookshelf, the X like right there. So if it was subtle at first, hopefully it's less subtle now at the end of the shot. Okay, and then the next thing that we go into is this kid playing VR. So that was a big thing. They really wanted this kid playing a VR headset game. And I remember, I think I pushed back on this, like, can we do anything else? Because when you step back and think about it, VR happens in your eyes. Like, there's not really, from the outside perspective, there's not really anything to see. Like, you can even see like kind of how awkward it is, like just looking at him playing this game. And when we set it up, it was like, man, like it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. It's like weird because we don't really see what he's seeing. He just looks like some like lunatic just waving his hands around. So we put that, like, you can see on the TV behind him, we put this like YouTube Galaxy like nonsense just to make it look like that's what he's playing. Like he's playing some sort of like star battle game or something. I don't know. This was probably my my most questionable shot of this whole ad, was this whole sequence. When we turned that TV on, definitely did help though. I will say it definitely brought it to life, brought a little bit more color. I actually really liked what Troy and Tyler did with the window, making that more blue, just bringing all that in. Of course, the fireplace has to be on. Of course, I think that's a rule in filmmaking. If there's a fireplace in the room, you got to turn it on. So, and then this kid, of course, does the X with his hands at the end. So there you go. And then we go to some stock footage. Oh man, the bane of my existence, but you got to do it. They really wanted this, like this mechanical, like manufacturing line shot. And that's the point of this ad, is that Global X ETFs is spanning all kinds of industries and markets, and the auto assembly line, this whole industry here is big. So we had to get that, and we went through all kinds of stock footage and options, and eventually the agency just like chose this, and this is what they wanted. You can see in the storyboard, it was supposed to have like robot arms like crossing to make that X, but the challenge is that the automated arms don't really do that. In fact, they're programmed not to do that because that wouldn't be safe, and they would not likely, but they could potentially run into each other. So finding that like cross arm, robot arm, was pretty much impossible. So fortunately, we got two clips here that they were happy with, and there they are. They're in the spot. Okay, and then we go to our next like big, fun, awesome shot. So this was filmed at it was a community college in Aurora. I can't remember the name of the college, but we called them up, and fortunately they allowed us to come in. We needed to make it look like this was like a science lab. To me, it still looks like, a college classroom, but hopefully people get that, like, she's supposed to be a professional scientist doing important research. I mean, I guess you could argue that scientists do work out of universities all the time, so maybe this is somewhat passable. But we set up this, again, the Fisher Dolly, and it's like the space between where these tables are, or like the lab tables are, and the wall was really narrow. So we really had to thread the needle on this move, and we were really crammed in there. This actually, I didn't mention Emily earlier. I'm sorry, Emily. Emily actually did come in, Emily Han-Young Hurd. She came in and helped us out in our department on, I don't think she was there on the first day, but she was here on this day. So this was day 2. This was our first shot that day. And so anyway, props to our department. Another little diss on myself or on this production is that we have this scientist wearing safety goggles when she is doing nothing that requires safety equipment. And I remember my wife, who has a science background, made fun of me and made fun of this video for that reason. She was like, they always put safety goggles on scientists or anyone doing science. And it's kind of, my response was like, well, duh. How are they going to know that she's a scientist if she's not wearing safety goggles? So, I mean, that's just logic. So she's wearing safety goggles to look at a computer screen because, the X here is supposed to be the lung branch that you see in there. That's supposed to be the X. This one's a little bit more subtle, but that's where the X is supposed to be. I actually really love this shot. I thought this came together really nicely. This might be my favorite shot of the entire ad. I'll try to, as I do more of these, I'll try to remember to point out what my favorite shot of the shoot is, but this was for sure my favorite setup, my favorite shot. I just adore this whole everything. So again, like I said, this whole spot was really a lot of heavy lifting by the image makers. There really wasn't a whole lot of, like, I mean, of course the actors are doing stuff. They're selling who they are in this world, but really the heavy lifters here are the crew making and producing these beautiful images. So way to go, everyone. Okay, so next up we have this hiker. So this is cool. Props to Tim. So Tim was, like I said, we did our own location scouting. Tim did the majority of it. I think probably even all of it. I'm saying majority, like I did some of it. I don't think I did much of it. If anything, I think I just said, yes, that looks great to me. But this one is these drone shots of this gal hiking, and that's actually my backpack that I still use to this day. She's wearing my backpack, and it's making it look like she's following a map. I actually think the X on here plays really, really well. And then we pull out to do this wide shot of red rocks, and this is also another just beautiful, gorgeous shot. This was the end of the whole shoot. This was the last thing we shot, and I remember it was like getting really dark. I think it was like hardly any daylight as we were packing out, as we were dumping footage, like in the parking lot. So we just barely fit it in, but really for the best, because you can see how low that sun is, and it looks awesome, and it really came together nicely. And also, like, man, it looks great for a drone. Like, and this is not like, this was 4 or 5 years ago. So this was, I think, the DJI Inspire on this. It wasn't like, we've got the Mavic 3 or 4 or whatever it is cine now. That's like beautiful. Man, like, the Inspire still holds up, and this, in my opinion, is proof of that. And I love this, like, I love how low the drone is to the grass. You can really feel that movement. So this one is Troy flying, and he did a great job. Troy's a great drone pilot, actually. I don't know if I ever really told him that. So Troy, if you're watching this, man, you're a great drone pilot. you do some really nice stuff with the drone. So, and then next shot, we have this overhead of this business meeting. You see the X in the table. This table, I remember when we were doing our whole props and art deck, going through options with Quinn, and I think she spray painted that frame. I'm pretty sure she spray painted that frame to match their colors. But man, we were stoked on this table. It's just perfect. If there's any X that's obvious in this ad, this is the one, in my opinion. It's like right there. And actually, I will maybe hopefully be able to find this footage. I don't know if I may have lost actually all the raw footage to this ad, but I'll dig and I'll see if I can find the full clip. This actual clip is only like, I think half or maybe a quarter of the actual full take. We really tried hard to sell the client on a longer shot here. It was cool. We had the Fisher dolly on straight track, starting from way back. Actually, this venue, it doesn't look like much from this shot, but this venue had a really cool stained glass window in the background. We spent a ton of time backlighting, like lighting through that window. Like we put a lot of effort just to clip to the very end. So yeah, I really, hopefully, I find this shot, cause, yeah, it's a beautiful shot that I probably should have put somewhere on our website, but I never did. Yeah, and we put, you'll see in the BTS photo, there's the riser on the arm of the Fisher is just massively tall. And we did that in order to not only boom up on the Fisher's arm, but also give the camera that much more height. And then there's Troy on the Fisher, like tilting the camera down. A lot went into this shot, and it doesn't really look like it, but yeah, we put a lot to get in here, get this shot going. Yeah, and then of course there's more X's as he's shaking hands and crossing lines. We're making micro X's, so X's inside the X's. It's a whole inception of X's here. And then lastly, we've got this shot of the sky from the road. So this was literally like the morning of one of our shoots, and like literally we're in downtown Denver, and I'm like looking up at these buildings trying to find a good sky view where the buildings make that X with the sky. And we have Troy out there in the middle of like this massive cross section of traffic, just like pointing the camera up, and like Tim, I'm pretty sure Tim was with me here too, and we're like making sure that no one's gonna run him over, making sure that he's safe, and then running back to the sidewalk when the lights turn green and the cars have to go. So this was kind of a punk rock shot of us not asking any permission, just going and getting what we need and then running away. And also you'll see there's a airplane in the sky. That is not that's not any kind of post effect. That's not VFX or anything. That we just got lucky, and we had a plane doing those the chemtrails, and we got really lucky. And I think that just looks slick. So I was super happy that happened. And we just hang on there, and you see a little bit of graphics works that was handed off to us by the agency, and that's the ad. As I said earlier, this was our first big ad, and this really set Noble Bison on our course. We were only a company for about a year before we did this, and this was a big moment for us. And this was, this project, though I wouldn't say this is my favorite video that we've made, but it definitely holds a special place in my heart. Not only that, actually, this is, I think, the biggest reach that any of our ads have ever had. I think this was like a global broadcast. I'm pretty sure this was broadcast outside of the United States. So I never really got analytics or any info on that, but from what I understand, that was always the intention. So for that, pretty sweet. Everything else that we've done since has been regional or local. So that was really cool. On our first ad to have a spot that had such a big reach like that. So yeah, in closing, again, just a huge thank you to everyone that was on this. Also earlier, I'm sorry I didn't shout out Doug, Julie, and Amanda. They were our PAs. Funny thing about Doug, he's now working in G&E, I think pretty much exclusively. He was a PA, and he started helping G&E on this shoot. So when I was saying earlier that I almost wish we had a seventh person, Doug actually was the unofficial seventh person. I don't recommend PAs doing this. Please just stay in your department, keep everyone happy and safe and legally or whatever, all those things that could go wrong. But yeah, he kind of became the unofficial swing, and so much so that I remember, I think it was Tyler who said, "Oh, I thought he was in our department." Like, no, he's actually a PA, man. So props to Doug, man. That was awesome. But if you're a PA watching this, I do not recommend doing that. You can get in trouble doing that. So I guess unless you're Doug. So take that for what it's worth. And this concludes my breakdown and my BTS whatever of this ad. Let me know what you think. I plan to just keep going with these and do more. And I'll catch you on the next one.